September is a great month to do this one activity to get a quick pulse to see how your sales or business development strategies are working.
You are not just another hustling salesperson. You are the expert, the resource, the valuable partner for your clients. And how you grow your business should reflect how your clients see you. Welcome to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. We generate referrals without asking, build positive client experiences, and help you take control of your business. Here's your charmingly sarcastic host, Stacey Brown Randall.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 169 of the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Brown Randall. So earlier this year, we offered a Growth by Referrals bootcamp for the first time since, I believe, 2017. I had a blast helping new GBR students get through the GBR program in just a few weeks. And of course, helping some of my air quotes that you can't see, older GBR students go back through the program as well. So we're going to do it again. One more time this year, one more time in 2021. We are offering our Growth by Referrals or GBR bootcamp. So when you join GBR today, you will get it as a free bonus. So this bootcamp kicks off on September 13th, and we spend 4 weeks together, and I give you exactly what to do week by week and day by day. Plus, you get office hours where you can every single week hop into our office hours on Zoom and ask me questions as you're going through the material and building out your referral plan. So we do this for 4 weeks, which means there is a deadline to it because our first week kicks off on September 13th. So if you want to join the boot camp, you got to get in by September 12th. And I'm going to help you build your referral plan and even execute on your first touch point in 4 weeks. That's right. Before the middle of October, you could already be executing on your plan. So come join me in the GBR program and take advantage of the GBR Bootcamp limited time bonus. Just go to growthbyreferrals.com to join me. Let me ask you a question. What's working right now in your business to generate new paying clients? And when I say working, I mean, you know which lead gen sources or lead generation sources are producing not only leads and prospects, but those leads and prospects are turning into paying clients. Now, when I say lead gen sources, I'm talking about those prospecting activities that you do or your marketing activities. And of course, I'm talking about your referral strategy. Those three groups make up what I call those lead gen sources, or sometimes they're referred to as business development sources or activities. And of course, they can also just be called what they are, sales activities. So thinking about your prospecting, your marketing, and your referral strategies, what are you doing that's producing results? Here's the thing. 2021 is going to be over, unfortunately, before we know it. So now is a great time to take a pulse check on what's working, what's helping us grow, what's helping us bring in new paying clients. I know from my Growth by Referral students, because they upload their results every 3 months within their first year in my program, I know from my GBR students if their referral strategy is working. We see it. We track the black and white numbers every single month that makes up or rolls up to their quarterly results. So we're tracking the number of referrals received in a 3-month period, the number of new referral sources that they've been able to convert. And of course, what we're starting to recently now start tracking, which we probably should have been doing all along, but tracking the outcome of those referred prospects, who says yes, who's still in holding or in process, and who said no, not now. And then, of course, the revenue amount that comes from those yes clients. For example, I recently received some uploaded results from Angela and Jim, and they are in two totally different businesses and in two totally different parts of the country as well. And looking at Angela in 6 months with her 6-month review, when she uploaded her quarterly results, it was amazing to see, coming from not really having any referrals when she started her business, and now being 6 months in, she's received 6 referrals. So I always talk about the referral piece as like a snowball effect. And Angela is the perfect example of that. In her first 3 months with us, she received 1 referral. So she's just getting started. She's never really received that many referrals before. She only has 1 or 2 kind of sort of referral sources. And she received 1 referral in her first 3 months. But she kept working the plan. And by the end of her second 3 months, so the end of 6 months, but at the end of her second 3 months, she had received 5 referrals to give her a total of 6 referrals in 6 months. And with that, she also brought on 5 new people referring her. So now she starts her next round of 3 months and she's got more referral sources and she's coming off a really strong start in our program. Or looking at someone like Jim, who's been in the program for 9 months. He's been uploading his results now for 9 months. He's gotten 28 referrals in 9 months. And part of that is because he's brought on 15 new people, new referral sources, new people referring him. So I'm giving you that as just kind of an overview of what we track from a referral perspective. But you actually need to be tracking what's working across all of your lead gen activities, all of the sales activities you do, all of the business development activities you do. You need to know what's working. Nobody runs their business off of just one strategy. Even those people who tell me I'm 100% referable, when I start digging into their data, I realize you may get a ton of referrals, but you are still bringing in business through other ways or other mechanisms or other lead gen sources. So what I want to teach you today for this episode is how to track what's working across all of your lead gen sources. Now, here's the thing. You guys know this. I like to give you what you need as simply as possible because I know if it's simple, you'll do it. So this isn't fancy. And some of you data people, particularly those of you who like your fancy Excel spreadsheets, you're going to go a little crazy nuts at how simplified and basic this is. But I did create a worksheet to help you make sense of what's working. So I'm going to encourage you to download this doc from the show notes page, which is stacybrownrandall.com/169 for episode 169. And Stacy has an E. But again, this is not fancy. It is very simplified. And there's a document you can download that'll walk you through these steps as I'm telling you what to do. You ready? Okay, let's dive in. First, we need a baseline. We need to know what your sources are and what the metrics you use to determine if those sources are successful. So number 1, we're going to need for you to answer the question, what are all of the lead gen or sales or business development activities you are doing? Is it networking? Do you attend and belong to leads groups? Do you do cold calls or cold emails? Do you use PR, try to get publicity? Are you running any ads, print, online, social media ads? Are you doing any social media posting? Not really ads, but just consistent social media posting. Do you do active social media outreach, like reaching out to people on LinkedIn? Do you do guesting or guest interviewing on podcast? Do you have signage? Do you get referrals? Please say yes. Do you do speaking engagements? Do you mail out direct mail pieces? Do you have an SEO strategy, right? You're trying to get leads through SEO. Do you participate in sponsorships? These are just some. This is not an exhaustive list, folks. But this is just some of all the different types of lead gen activities you could be doing. And each one of those is its own source. And I would break it down. So if you do networking, I would break it down by maybe the networking events you go to on a routine basis. And then if you belong to a leads group, I would break those down if there's different ones. Get as granular with this as you're willing to. I mean, I don't need you to have 52,000 things written down. In fact, if you have that many things written down, I'm a little concerned for you. But what are the things that you are doing that you spend time on or money on to bring in new clients? Now, you may have a website that helps with your brand credibility and helps people find you. But if you don't have an SEO strategy, like a pay-per-click, right, or some type of SEO strategy behind it that's helping bring people to you, some of these are going to be a little bit harder to actually gauge, right? So when engaging the results of how they're working. So for instance, obviously I have a website, but I don't necessarily always count that as one of my lead gen strategies or one of my lead gen sources. unless I'm doing something behind the scenes to really get it out there to be seen. So some of these things you may be doing from a pure marketing perspective, but it's hard for you to figure out the metric to decide if it's working. But for most of these, you should be able to say, these are the lead gen activities I am doing, which then you need to answer question number 2 with that. You need to determine the metric that shows those lead gen activities, those lead gen sources are actually working. But here's the thing. You decide. You get to decide what the metric is that tells you these strategies that you're putting time, energy, and money into are actually working. But folks, it must be real. No vanity metrics, okay? We're talking about real metrics that tell you something is really working. And some are going to need more than just one metric. They may need 2 metrics to really determine if they're working. So let me kind of break this down and kind of give you a couple examples so your brain starts thinking about this, right? So if you belong to a leads group or you belong to a networking group, and I do believe there's a difference between the networking group you go to for networking and maybe for education and maybe for community, different from a leads group that maybe you show up to every week or every other week where there is this expectation of the passing of leads. Yeah, don't call those referral groups. That's not what they are. Okay, sorry, soapbox. Don't want to go down that path. But if you belong to some networking groups or some lead groups, maybe one of the metrics that you have coming out of your time and dues, if you pay dues into those groups, are how many one-on-one meetings are you having with prospects that are coming out of those groups? Or it could be how many people are you connecting with on a one-on-one level that are then going on to refer you, right? And becoming referral sources. So there's a couple of different ways to determine if something's working. If you're making cold calls or sending out cold emails, the metric may be how many people are actually answering the phone and answering your emails, like how many people are responding. And then it could also be then how many people say yes to a meeting. So when I say there may be 1 or 2 or more metrics per source, that's what I'm talking about. For example, with the referrals, just like I explained with Angela and Jim, right? With the referrals, there's definitely tracking the number of referrals received, but we also track the number of new people referring you, number of new referral sources, because that's one of the strategies we teach in the GBR program is how to turn your clients and contacts into new referral sources. And then, of course, we also want to track the number of those referrals received that actually convert into paying clients. If you're doing speaking engagements, right? Maybe it's the number of people who reach out to you to connect for a one-on-one after your speaking engagement. Or maybe there's a different way that you're collecting information during that speaking engagement, and it's how many people you follow up with that say yes to meeting with you. If you're doing SEO, right, depends on what that looks like. Maybe it's the number of people who are filling out the Contact Us form on your website. Maybe if you're doing something where you're doing your lead gen strategies are more online based than they actually are any the other type of baseline of bringing in new business. Maybe it's the number of people who are signing up for your email list, right? That's a metric that I'm also going to track as well. But my business is a little bit different, so it just depends on how yours works. If you participate in sponsorships, maybe it's the number of names collected at that virtual or in-person event that you were sponsoring. And then the second metric could be how many of those names that you collected ended up doing a first meeting with you, and then, of course, eventually became a client. Answering these 2 questions, what are all of the lead gen activities or sales or business development activities you are doing? And then what is the metric that shows you they are working? When you have those 2 pieces in place, this gives us a baseline to work from. So here's what you're going to do next. You're actually going to add in your data, your results by this lead gen categories. So again, like I mentioned earlier, I created a simple document for you to use with this process. Now, you may need to modify it to fit your needs. So that's why we created it in a format where you can actually edit it and make changes to it. And it is very basic. Again, like I said, it's very, very basic. But the idea here is that you want to make sure that you're putting in what are your different sales activities? What are your different sources to bring in new clients, to bring in a new lead? And then what's the metric that you're using to determine if that's working? And then, of course, what are the results based on each metric? Again, modify it to fit your needs. And this will make more sense when you guys download it and you go and look at it. So if you need to do that, great. StaceyBrownRandall.com/169. I find the easiest way to do this, though, is to work backwards. If I sat down with this document and I just had to start filling in the information from like this day forward, sometimes I find that to be a little overwhelming. And a lot of times I want to know what's been working. I need to look backwards. I need to look back over the last 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year. So again, I find it easiest when I'm doing this to work backwards, particularly if I don't have this information at my fingertips. So for those of you who are tracking this in a CRM, some type of client relationship management tool, some type of database, of course, it will make it easier for you to pull data looking backwards. Right? So there's a couple of CRMs out there that I like. I like Pipedrive. It's not really a CRM as much as it is really just a tracking of your pipeline of prospects. And I like Memoran. And so we actually had the founder of Memoran on the podcast in episode 115. It's Ruben Schwartz is the founder. And he was on the podcast in episode 115. And he talks about things to consider when you're considering a CRM. So if you don't have one or you're thinking you want a new one, that's what I recommend that you check out. What's really cool is he actually offered 20% off. On that episode, he offered 20% off to the listeners of this podcast. So I will link to his special offer where you can see that 20% off in the show notes for this episode, stacybrownrandall.com 169/169. But you can also hear about it, learn more about it, of his thought process about how to pick a CRM in episode 115. Okay, again, I like to work backwards because I think that makes this easier for me in terms of what I'm trying to uncover. So, you may have heard this before, particularly if you're a GBR student or you've participated in any of my trainings where I talk about how do we identify our referral sources? Well, it starts with actually how we identify where our clients come from. So the first thing I would have you do if you're working backwards to fill in this information is I need you to pull a list of your clients, and then I need you to pull a list of your prospects. But let's start small. Maybe just start with this year, the first 8 months of 2021. Or if you're listening to this later, maybe it's all of 2021 for you or 2022. But start with 1 year or start with 3 months or 6 months, but start small. And you're going to pull a list of your clients from this year, and then you're going to pull a list of your prospects. And what I mean by that is not everybody said yes to working with you. So you have the people who said yes, who became clients, and then you had the other people who maybe haven't made a decision yet to work with you, or they're on hold and they're going to come work with you later this year, or they just said no or not now. You still have a list of prospects that are not clients. You need to pull both if you have access, or if you have to find that information on your desk, in a spreadsheet, on the back of an envelope, on a piece of paper, or wherever you try to keep up with this information. So just start with 1 year. Okay, just start with 1 year, maybe 2021, and then just plug in your data, right? Pick one activity or one source, right? So pick referrals or pick networking or leads groups, and then look at where your clients and your prospects came from, and then just start adding it up. So if I'm looking back at 50 clients and 30 of them came by referral, then I would mark 30, right, from new clients that came by referral for 2021. I'm just using some round numbers here. And then the other 20, maybe the other 10 came because they heard me speak or they read my book. And then the other 10, or let's say 5 came because they read my book and then came to work with me and they found it on Amazon. Another 5 heard me speak through a group and they decided to work with me. And the other 10 heard me on a podcast and they decided to come work with me. So then I'm looking at 30 came from here, 5 from here, 5 from here, 10 from here. These are 4 different sources and the results they produced for me. And so when you guys download the worksheet that goes with this, you'll see this from a call-in perspective, right? It's the activity, and then it's the metric that you're basing it on. And then, of course, it is the outcome or revenue column as well. So again, modify this, add rows, add columns, whatever you need to do. Modify this to fit for you. But we have the basics there for you. So again, you're going to plug in your data by picking one activity first, how many prospects came from that source, and then how many of those prospects from that one source, let's just say cold calling, then became clients. I'm going to assume if you're cold calling, it's probably very low. Now, I do this by month because I feel like it's easier for me to keep up with it. But you'll eventually add up the results to give you what you're looking at from 2021. Now, once you have that data in place and you're starting to see what's working, what's not working, maybe add in 2020. Maybe you're like, yep, this is enough to give me what I need, but maybe I want to look in the sources, the business development activities that are working from 2020. When you know where your prospects and your clients come from, It is very, very revealing to the reality of your business, not the anecdotal evidence of what you think is working or in the moment seems to be working. All right. When you've got your spreadsheet open and you've put in the different activities you're doing, and then you put in your results, whatever you determine the metrics to be by that activity, and you're looking at what that looks like from the number of prospects it's bringing you and the number of those prospects who turn into clients, and then you're looking about how much money those clients spend with you, right? I want you to do me a favor. Stop. Push your chair back. Walk away. Now come back. Maybe do a walk around. Maybe go grab something to drink. Maybe go pet the dog. Whatever it is, right? Then come back and review your black and white numbers. So put all the data in there. Get it as good as you can. And before you start analyzing and thinking about making early decisions, stop, move away from it, walk away, and then come back. And with a clear head, review your black and white numbers. And then ask yourself, what's working best? What's not working at all? How much money are you spending on each of these individual sources for the results they're producing for you? What should be working better? It's time to make some decisions in your business. And that's why this is such a great time to do this now. I mean, really, this is a great activity to do any month of any year, and you could do it monthly or quarterly if you wanted to, but it's such a good time to do this now because we are heading into the final 4 months of this year, and we want to make sure we've got some good data now as we make decisions moving into this final month of third quarter and then fourth quarter, and then the decisions we make as we move into 2022. So it's time to do a pulse check. What is the return on investment, your ROI that you are getting from where you spend your time, energy, and money in the activities you are doing to bring new clients into your business? You got to make some decisions, but do not make those decisions until your data tells you your reality, the real life truth. And then, you guys know, I want to know. Hop into our Referrals Without Asking Facebook group and tell me what is working for you and what you're considering dropping after looking at the black and white data. Now, you can find access to our Referrals Without Asking Facebook group, the link that I mentioned to Memorand, the CRM I mentioned with that 20% off discount, and of course the episode where we talk about that, and to get the document that you can download to do this exercise easier at the show notes page for this episode, stacybrownrandall.com/169. That's the number 169, and Stacy has an E. Okay, coming up next week is episode 170, baby. And it's a 10th episode. And as you know, every 10th episode, we do a question and answer format. And I've got some great questions that have been submitted. I can't wait to give you the answers. So until then, take control and grow your business. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. To access all resources and links mentioned in today's show and to connect with Stacy, head over to www.stacybrownrandall.com.